Am I the a-hole for not allowing my ex to see my son? So, my story is a little complicated with my ex. We were best friends for years. We met on a dating app, we dated, and then he broke up with me, saying he wasn't ready for a relationship. I was okay with that, and we stayed friends. Shortly after our initial breakup, after he said he wasn't ready for a commitment, he moved in with a girl. I was upset, but I got over it since I was busy going to school and had a lot on my plate as a single mom. Years passed, and we were still good friends. I always invited him for Christmas every year because he had no family nearby. Also, my child was friends with his child. Eventually, we ended up dating again. I'm going to try to keep this short. I had a full schedule. I was going to university full-time and working full-time. Our first big falling out was on his son's birthday. I had told him I couldn't stay long since I had a big project to complete for my business class. I went over to his house. He had to go pick up his son from school and told me to light the candles when I heard him honking. Mind you, I had a test to go to. Almost an hour went by, and I called him. No answer. I heard a honk, so I lit the candles, but no one came in. I turned off the candles, and the wax got on the cake. I called him again, and when he finally picked up, I asked where he was. He said he had something to do, and when I told him I had heard a honk and lit the candles, but no one came in, he got furious and started yelling at me. My child heard him, and I was shocked because he had never acted that way before. When he finally came home, he said I ruined his son's birthday. I was upset because not only did my child hear that, but his child heard it too. I didn't say anything and proceeded to sing the birthday song. His son opened his present, which was a BB gun. I was shocked since I don't want my child playing with BB guns. Mind you, the kids were 8 and 7. He said, "Hey, do you guys want to go shoot it in the backyard?" I said absolutely not. My child wasn't going to partake. He made it seem like I was the mean parent and let my child play with the BB gun anyway, even though I didn't want to. I didn't say anything in front of the kids. Later that day, after I went home and finished my project, I called him and told him I didn't appreciate how he responded in front of the kids and about the BB gun. He twisted things and said that I didn't sing the birthday song and ruined the cake. I apologized about the candle thing, but he kept saying that nothing he does is good enough and his gifts are crap. I awkwardly said I had to go and was left shocked that he gaslit me. Months passed, and the birthday incident was dropped, though somehow I ended up taking the blame for all of it. At Christmas, I bought a used Apple computer from my aunt, and he asked if he could use it. I said, "Go ahead." Later that night, I went to finish some homework and noticed he left his Facebook open. I didn't touch anything, but a message popped up from his ex. When I saw him reply, I clicked the message so it wouldn't show that it was read before he could. They were talking intimately about how when she came, she could move in with him, and they could be a family. I didn't say anything to him about it, and just kept reading their conversations for weeks. One day, he picked me up from school, and I heard his phone ping. I asked who it was, and he said it was an old friend named Sarah. I asked why he hadn't mentioned her before, and he said I wouldn't understand because it was his ex, and he didn't want me jumping to conclusions. His phone was right there, and a text popped up saying, "I miss your touch." I grabbed it and looked at the previous message, which read, "I miss your luscious lips." I said, that doesn't seem like what a friend would say. He brushed it off, saying they were just being silly. He also said he only reached out to her because I'm so hypercritical and that he needed validation regarding the birthday party incident. I asked him to stop talking to her because it made me uncomfortable, and he apologized, saying he would. That night, I went home and checked his Facebook Messenger. He was still texting her, telling her how crazy I was and that I was jealous. He also told her that if she ever moved back to the state, she could move in with him and her kids because he wanted a family with her. I was devastated. I didn't call him, but a few days later he came over for my birthday. I left his chat open on my computer, and he saw it. He asked why I was invading his privacy and accused me of hacking into his Facebook. I told him he was the one who left it logged in. We argued, and he left. I didn't uninvite him from Christmas dinner because I had already bought him and his son gifts. My mom didn't know what had happened, and she told me to let them come for his son's sake, so I did. After the kids went to sleep, we argued outside, and I told him it was over. His son stayed the night, and he came the next day to pick him up. A few months later, he said he was sorry and would stop chatting with her, so I believed him. Things were rocky, but I checked his Facebook again out of curiosity, and he was still talking to her, sharing intimate conversations about me, calling me crazy, and saying he wanted her to move in with him. I broke up with him, and he started harassing me with texts. I ignored most of them because I was focused on school, but eventually, I found out I was pregnant. Relevant comments. Electronic injury, 86. All right, listen up here, my girl. As a 22M in a committed relationship with not that much experience yet, I can for sure tell you, this guy is a little child, not a man. He's playing this relationship like he's still in school. F him, never talk to him again. He seems like a crazy liar, and maybe this is just the beginning. I wonder if he could possibly get abusive. Stay away. But if he's good with kids, and it's both your kid, a man should have the right to see his child. However, this guy giving kids BB guns at that age, he should not see your child from the start of its life. I mean, what's next? A real gun? He seems like the type to think his son can handle anything. Maybe you should wait a couple of years and then let him see the child with you being present. Also, train and teach your child not to be scared to tell you things about him. If he doesn't take responsibility, he's off the parent list. Bye to him. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I'm the type of person who cares a lot for people and their safety, and I've had a few female friends being very unfairly treated. OP. There's more to the story. It's just very long. I'm posting multiple parts since it's too much to write in one post. This happened years ago. My son is now 6. I will post the whole story in parts. OP. There is a part 2 with the same title and part 2 at the end. I'm new here, so I'm still figuring out some things. I just needed to put the whole story out there because he wants to see his child again. Light equivalent 1032. If there isn't court-ordered visitation and he still hasn't gone through the process of being added to the birth certificate, you have zero obligation to let him near your child. Let him go through the hassle of filing if he wants. From your post, it sounds like he's too lazy to go that route. He's counting on you to be weak and just let him get his way. Show him you have a shiny backbone and will protect your child from his toxicity. Update part 2. After finding out that I was pregnant, I went to a doctor's appointment, and it was confirmed that I was 2 months along. I reached out to him, and his reaction was not positive. He was cruel and mean. Then he apologized, and it was this emotional roller coaster. I was hormonal and wanted to fix things, or at least be co-parents, but it was strange. At times he wanted to be there, and other times he would tell me he wasn't ready. We hooked up here and there. He came to one doctor visit. The whole time I was still going to college, and I graduated 1 month before I gave birth. During this time, he would say things like, "I hope you and the baby get run over by a bus," and that I was fat like a hippopotamus. Then he would apologize and be kind. It was hot and cold. When my water broke, I called him to come get me since my contractions had started. He didn't answer, so I ended up calling an ambulance. He finally came in the morning, an hour before I gave birth. He acted all nice, but when it came to signing the birth certificate, he said, "I can't wait for them to come. I have my other kid to take care of," and he left. Even though I told him they were waiting for him to sign it, he said, "You sign it." So I did. His name wasn't on the birth certificate. I told him if he wanted to be on it, he'd have to go with me to amend it. He didn't show for my appointment, so I did it on my own. He didn't show up for a while after that, and then asked if I got him on the birth certificate. I told him I wasn't going to forge his signature, and he would need to pay the fees and go through the proper process. He never followed through. I named my son because I wasn't going to give my son the name he wanted. He showed up in my son's life a few times, but missed all his firsts, never attended appointments, and barely helped at all. He always made excuses like, "Babies don't need fathers until they're 6 months old," and then later, "Boys don't need fathers until they're 1. He showed up for my son's first birthday and then disappeared again. When my son turned 2, I didn't invite him to the party. He called and said, "Happy birthday, son," but again said that boys didn't need fathers until they were 3. I didn't know what to do, and I felt sad for my son. We started hooking up again, and for a year and a half, he helped with $300 a month. But only after I practically begged him for the money. He constantly flaked on my son. By that time, the girl he had been talking to had moved in with him. I found out because he invited us to his other son's birthday, and I saw a woman's jacket on a chair. I said, "Oh, nice jacket. I didn't know you liked teal." He claimed he picked it up at a thrift store. Later, while he went to the store, I heard his phone ping and saw it was her texting again. When he got back, I said I was leaving, and when he asked why, I said, "Your girlfriend is coming and I want to go home." Of course, he blamed me for ruining his other son's birthday. I told him we were done trying to patch things up between us, and if he wanted to see his son, he'd need to set fixed times. His girlfriend was jealous of the time he spent with his son and didn't want him paying child support. He started flaking on him again. And one day, when he was supposed to watch my son because my mom had a doctor's appointment, he didn't show up. My mom had to cancel her appointment. He later said he had to work and apologized. On my way home, I stopped by his house, and there he was, sitting on the couch under a blanket with her. He was drunk and high. At that point, I yelled at him, telling him he flaked on his son for a handjob under the blankets while being drunk and high. I left and told him to go to court if he wanted to see his son. Relevant comments. Light equivalent 1032. What the F did I just read? Why on earth would you agree to have a child with this piece of trash? Block and forget him. Go to court and let them sort out child support. They will eventually just start garnishing his paychecks. Document, document, document. Only communicate through lawyers. He will cause lasting psychological harm to your children if you keep pushing for contact. Now is the time to finally start putting the well-being of your children first. He is the enemy of you and your children. Treat him as such. OP, there is more. It gets worse. And I'm not putting all the details. My first child's father was abusive physically and verbally. And when I met this guy, I thought he was different. He was nice before things went wrong. I think because I was abused psychologically, I felt like I didn't deserve better. And I always thought I could mend things. I'm no longer with the father. I also wanted a second child and couldn't go through with an abortion. The few times he was with my son, he was nice to him, and the visits were always supervised. Also, my son started asking for his daddy, and it broke my heart. My first child grew up without a father, and I didn't want that for my little one. I know my son deserves better, and I hope that when he's older, he will understand. Light equivalent 1032. He will. Children are resilient. No father at all is better than an unreliable one who treats their mother like trash. I understand your feelings. I'm a mama first, and sometimes what children want in the moment isn't what's best for them in the long run. I suggest sitting down with your son and a family therapist to explain the situation to him in an age-appropriate way when you feel he's ready for that conversation. There's zero use in looking backwards. You made poor choices in the past due to trauma, but you can learn from them and move forward. Start seeing a counselor or therapist so you do not repeat these patterns or model this behavior for your children. If you won't do it for yourself, do it for your kids. Protect them and show them what a strong mama looks like. OP, trust me, I have been single for the past 6 years. I'm only working on healing and being a good mom for both my children. I think I'm done with relationships for now. Commentary time! This story is a heart-wrenching example of how much weight, emotional trauma, and past abuse can carry into future relationships. OP's journey with her ex reflects the difficult decisions many single parents face when considering what's best for their children. Her ex's irresponsibility, broken promises, and the emotional manipulation she endured paint a picture of a toxic relationship that she worked hard to salvage, mostly for the sake of her child. However, as painful as it was, she made a commendable choice to prioritize her son's well-being by cutting contact and considering a healthier path forward. It's clear OP struggled with the complicated emotions surrounding her ex's role as a father. While she wanted her son to have a father figure, her ex's continuous flakiness, cruel comments, and repeated broken promises only reinforced his instability. In the end, choosing to go no contact was a difficult but necessary step in protecting her child from disappointment and potential harm. Seeing OP's dedication to becoming a stronger, more resilient parent is inspiring. She's actively breaking the cycle of toxicity by seeking a supportive environment for her children and focusing on personal healing. This story is a powerful reminder that sometimes walking away from toxic relationships is the most loving thing we can do for ourselves and our families. Thanks for tuning into this story of resilience and strength. If you found it impactful, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more stories that shed light on family, healing, and self-respect. See you in the next one.